This video is going to go over graphing inequalities and interval notation. And it's not necessarily from your notes, but this was on a worksheet that we did. So the problems are written up at the top, and these are all already worked out, but I'm going to talk you through them. So the first thing we had was x is less than or equal to 5 and x was less than 7. Now remember, when we have an and, we have to look for the overlap. So we have a rough draft and a final draft. So on our rough draft, I put the smaller number first, -5, and then the bigger number, 7, and then I just graphed them both on that rough draft. So x is less than or equal to -5. X could be -5, so we have a closed circle. And then x, all our possibilities, right, are smaller than -5. So the smaller numbers are going to go to the left. This is where all our smaller numbers are on our number line. Same thing with 7, except it's just less than 7, which means it can't actually be 7. So we have an open circle. And again, all our possibilities are less than 7, so we want all the numbers to the left. Now the overlap is just this area right here. And what I mean by overlap is that's where both of our inequalities would work. So that's what we put on our final number line. And then for the interval notation, we read our graph from left to right. So it starts at -infinity because I have an arrow over here going to the left. So I have -infinity. -infinity always gets parentheses. And it goes all the way till -5. -5 has a closed circle, so we put a bracket around it. Our next problem is an OR. I love ORs because we don't have to worry about an overlap. They could overlap, but they don't have to. So we just put both of them on the same number line. So x is less than -5. We have an open circle because it can't be -5. We want all the smaller numbers, so going to the left. Or x, all our possibilities are greater than or equal to 7. So we have a closed circle because it could be 7. And we want all the bigger numbers, so we're going to go to the right. For our interval notation, we're going to read it like a book, left to right. So at the left, I'm starting at -infinity. I'm going all the way till -5, and then we stop. So since we stop, we have to stop our interval notation there. We stop it with a parenthesis because -5 is an open circle. Since we have a break in our graph, we're going to go ahead and just put the word OR in our interval notation. But then it picks up at 7 with a closed circle, so we put a bracket, and it goes all the way to +infinity. Next, very similar to the first one, except we have one going the other way. We have x is greater than -5 and x is less than or equal to 7. It's an and, so we have a rough draft and a final draft. For our rough draft, we just graphed them both. We found the overlap, and that's what we put on our final number line. For our interval notation, we read it left to right. We have nothing, nothing, nothing until -5. It's an open circle. We put parentheses. It goes all the way to 7. Closed circle. We put a bracket. Okay, so this is our final answer, and it's okay for there to be one parenthesis and one bracket, right? That's perfectly fine. Here we have another OR, so we threw them both on the number line. Okay, now when it's an OR, for the interval notation, we just have to have one of the lines. We could have both, but we just have to talk about where we have at least one. So here we have a line. Our line is going, 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 going. Now, the blue one stops, but we pick the other one right up. So really we don't stop, we just keep going all the way to +infinity. So any number that you could think of would work for this inequality. And if you think about it, hopefully it makes sense because any number can either be bigger than -5 or less than 7. So -infinity to +infinity. Here we have an and, but this time on our rough draft, they never overlapped. So if we have an and they never cross, then it's no solution. There's no number that at the same time is less than -5 and bigger than 7, right? So if your ands never cross, then it's no solution, and it's okay for it to be no solution. Last but not least, we have another OR. Okay, when we graphed it, this is what we got. So for our interval notation, remember we just have to have one of the lines. So we're going, 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 going. Now this one stops, but this one keeps going, so we still have a solution all the way till 7. So negative infinity to 7 encompasses everything that's happening here. Okay, so any number you think of that's less than negative 5 would also be less than 7, so that's why our interval notation looks like that.